Now, to start off with, I just want to read a quote from a little-known author called Stephen King. He was talking about one of your latest book, Broken Monsters. Scary as hell and hypnotic. I couldn't put it down. That's no small message.
No, as one of my friends said, it's a bit like body slamming Hulk Hogan. If you manage to scare Stephen King, lifetime achievement. It's pretty wild. It blew my mind when I read that.
It's
and he tweeted it. It was just wow.
You scared Stephen King, and you scared most of the readers. Is there a certain delight in scaring a reader?
Yeah, I think so. Yes, no, absolutely. I've had a lot of people email me or tweet at me to say that I've given them nightmares. I feel a little bit bad about that. But you want someone to live so wholly in your world that you've created. I think of writing a book as you're building a house which someone wants to live in for a little while. And this seems to have been a haunted house.
This book starts with this murdered boy who's sewn in half, and half of his body is sewn to a deer. How do you come up with this?
I have a very strange mind, but I was also interested in kind of playing with very surreal images and kind of mythological images. The book is very much kind of about the human subconscious and the weird things which come out of it, and haunted cities, strange people, thwarted creativity, finding new avenues. So yeah.
For all of us with busy minds, it definitely keeps us busy in terms of the characters. 5 different characters that these murders are circulated around. I mean, there's the aspect of homelessness and instability. How do you find these personalities? I mean, you say you've got a busy mind and you come up with these ideas, but how do you create characters around a story that's not true?
Well, I interview a lot of real people. I hang out with Detroit homicide detectives. I worked in a soup kitchen for the day. And to really get that personal perspective on kind of homelessness in Detroit, I hang out with artists. I went to dodgy secret underground parties in Eastern Market and danced till 6 a.m. because that was totally part of the research.
Yes.
And went and looked at old abandoned buildings and everything that Detroit is known for. But Detroit is known for kind of death and ruin. But actually the city has such a vibrancy and a life. It was a very exciting place to be.
Are your books optioned for movies?
My books do get optioned. Zoo City and The Shining Girls have both been optioned, which means that they might take anywhere between 1 year and 10 years to make, depending on how long it takes to raise millions of dollars.
Is it hard as a writer to put all this creative work into a book and what it's meant for, and then having to hand it over for someone to make a movie of it?
Well, I choose the production companies very carefully and the producers very carefully, and these are people who fundamentally understand the book and understand the heart of the book. And of course, things are going to have to change, but as long as they stick to the heart of it, it's okay.
I want to take you around and just make you a business card, and say to people, look, it's Lauren Beckers. What's the biggest thing that's happened in your brag Bible? I mean, I just saw the University of Johannesburg Prize. Do you want to quickly tell me about that?
Yeah, I just won the University of Johannesburg Prize. It's one of South Africa's most prestigious literary awards. The Shining Girls, I think, has got 9 different award nominations. I've got 2 books on Exclusive Books homebrew list. It's amazing. I've had such international recognition.
I always see these movies with these writers and they have writer's block, they make no money and they're poor and they can't think of it. How do you come up with your new ideas? I mean, literally, you were here last year and this year you've got another book.
But I don't believe in writer's block. I think there's writer's procrastination and that there is writer's fear. And the only way to get over that is to just write until you get through it.
Why? Why not write straight realism?
I think if you play with a high concept like time travel or criminals with magical animals or setting it in kind of a near future, it allows you to play with ideas in a way that gets over people's issue fatigue. We see so many horrendous things on the news every single day, and it's very, very easy to change the channel on that. And fiction, and in particular high concept where it's engaging and interesting and it's just distanced enough from the real world, it's just enough of a twist on the real world that it feels fresh and it feels different and it doesn't feel like the tired horrors that we endure every day. Really allows you to explore that, and also allows you a way into the horror and to try and find some kind of empathy. I think stories really get you into someone's head, and it's a wonderful medium to explore that.
And where did the seed for this one begin? Yeah.
It started with the body, with this strange, kind of half human, half deer, very kind of mythological creature found underneath a tunnel in this industrial wasteland. And the poor detective, Gabriela Visado, who has to deal with it, is just thinking, oh my gosh, what have I landed? What the hell is this?
Yeah, right.
So
and
that's
and I loved her character. And just like in Shining Girls, the main protagonists, they're such incredible women.
Yeah.
I mean, they see a lot, they experience, especially to Kirby in Shining Girls, but those strong women. So I just want those. How did you make up these characters and the parts of them? Are there people that you know? Are they you? Because they're such strong women characters in both of these.
Well, I think they're troublesome women characters.
Well, but that's even in a way that makes them stronger, though.
Exactly,
I think,
absolutely,
you know?
because they're not white knights. They're not pure and good.
Right.
They have hassles. They yell at their kids. They got divorced. They say the wrong thing at the wrong time, and they still have to try and do right at the end of it.
Yeah.
And I think that makes them much more interesting. So, you know, every character is an aspect of yourself as a writer that you take a seed and you grow it into a tree, including the bad guys. You know, I mean, Harper in the Shining Girls is the most cynical, awful, loathsome human being.
Yeah.
So I took the grain of my cynicism, maybe slightly more than a grain,
Right.
but I just grew that into like the
Sure.
most loathsome iterant that you could have of it.
Yeah.
But I steal blatantly from everywhere I go. I steal bits of dialogue and characteristics or expressions,
Right.
or, you know, and I know a lot of really inspiring,
Yeah.
smart, interesting, troublesome women.
Yeah. But do you, I know the journalist in you. You're probably keeping a notebook all the time.
Yep.
You hear something or you
Yes.
see something. You're always writing notes, right?
Yeah, and I often find really weird scribbles in my iPhone, which is my most handy notebook, which I then have to try and figure out what the hell that meant later.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's good. It's
Right.
you know,
So Chicago for the Shining Girls, and I know you spent some time here in Chicago and New York.
Yes.
But this one's set in Detroit. So the research, what did you do to go? Because we know what's happening in Detroit,
Yeah.
and it's a sad situation, and it's a broken city. You know, just like there's a lot of broken things in
Yeah.
this book. But what did you think of Detroit and what you found out there?
Well, I was attracted to Detroit because of those very evocative photographs of the abandoned places, which everyone loves to share on the internet. And the mythology around Detroit, that it is this broken city, that it is the death of America, it is the ruin of our civilization. And I know that it's much more than that, because I come from Johannesburg, and Johannesburg is often held up the same way as the end of everything. So I wanted to get beneath the kind of easy skin of the cliche. So I visited twice, once before I started writing the book, and I just kind of hung out with interesting people. And then after I'd finished the first draft, I went back to like fill in the gaps. But I spoke to Detroit homicide detectives, bought them donuts.
Nice.
I hung out with theater kids who made me do their warm-up exercises with them. I kind of just shanghaied artists and photographers and made them drive me around and show me their version of Detroit. And I worked in a soup kitchen for a day. And
Wow.
you know, after I'd finished helping serve food, I went and sat at the different tables, and I spoke to people, and I asked them about their stories. And I was very clear about why I was there.
Right,
you know, that I was
right,
writing a novel,
sure,
but
sure.
they were very eager to tell their stories, and everyone wanted someone to come in and do a real story on Detroit, because so often it is those easy cliches. It's parachute journalism. So people were very excited to like have someone show
I
a real
bet,
interest
I bet.
in getting deeper.
So I think you really enjoy that part of
Yes,
doing
so
that
much.
sort of
If I
thing.
could just do that, if I could just do that and not the writing, that would be great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's that 10 or more years of being a journalist
Yes.
that comes back, and you probably miss that part of it.
Yes, I do,
Yeah,
and it's just great. And you know, like real life is more inventive than anything you can make up.
Oh, sure,
And
sure.
some of the phrases people said, the taxidermist describing taxidermy like skinning a really gross orange, that's verbatim. I couldn't have come up with that. That was fantastic.
Yeah.
I was interested in, you know, just the whole idea of dreams, like the American dream, that Detroit is a symbol of the American dream, and now the death of the American dream.
Right, right.
And the human subconscious and art. But also the internet. The internet is a very interesting place where the subconscious can vent, and where we hide behind masks and we obfuscate ourselves. But I know that it's made up. At the end of the day, you know, I close my laptop and I don't go to bed with those things in my head. It'll be waiting for me the next day. But you know, real crime scares me. Domestic violence, and you know, the fact that the justice system doesn't work pretty much anywhere. It's a fairy tale.
Yeah.
And I think that's what scares me. And social injustice, and the fact that people care so much about who other people are sleeping with. I find it so frustrating and strange.
It's flipped. you
Yeah,
know,
no,
what people
completely.
should
And
do.
that people would kill someone over love. I don't get it.
Yeah, right. Okay, how about something when you were working on your MA in University of Cape Town?
Margaret Atwood's Oryx and Crake nearly destroyed my career because I loved it so much, and it was so similar to Moxieland, which was my first book. I nearly put Moxieland down and walked away. But I loved it. I still love the book, but she nearly destroyed my career.
All right, how about a book you've been an evangelist for? Any book you've read your entire life that you could not tell enough people to read?
Lexicon by Max Barry is just wonderful. It's one of my favorite books that I read last year. And Claire DeWitt and the City of the Dead by Sarah Gran. And Ed Brubaker's Criminal, and I could just go on.
Going on, okay.
No, there's so many amazing books that I've been reading lately.
Okay, what would be your favorite piece of science fiction?
Pattern Recognition by William Gibson.
Okay, and what about a guilty pleasure read? What would you call a guilty pleasure
I
read?
don't have guilty
Okay,
pleasure reads.
good. I like that
I
answer.
I'm promiscuous in my reading. I take anything I want to bed with me, but it better be good, and it better
Okay.
be surprising, and it better deliver.
Okay, because you feel guilty for reading something bad.
I will put something bad down.
Okay, if you could have dinner with any 3 authors, alive or dead, who would those 3 be?
Christopher Marlowe, Stephen King, and Margaret Atwood.
Ooh, that's the best answer I've ever had on this one. I like that. I want to be there. Okay.
Who are your readers?
It's a range of people. It's actually really nice. I seem to have about equal male and female readers. I think there are people like me. I write with myself in mind. I write books for me, and I hope that there are enough other people like me who will find them interesting.
And what do you want them to take away from your books, in particular this one?
I want people to have come along for an amazing ride, to have been captivated by an engaging, inventive, surprising story that also has something to say about who we are in the world right now. Of course, there are social messages that I'm really passionate about, including women's rights, including violence against women, including the way the 20th century has changed us. But that's secondary to the story, and I hope that'll leak through anyway.